Good evening, all our TIE members and charter members who have joined the first edition of this series of Thursday night talks. Uh, Thank you for joining on a working day evening, and we will begin. And as we go along, you will also listen to the details of the program itself. Moving on. So, quick guidelines and housekeeping for all those on the in the meeting. If you have any questions to the speaker, please use chat option to type in your questions, and the moderator of the session will take this question for the speaker. And if you're having any trouble with your audio, please check your internet connection. And all of us are used to Zoom meetings in the last 1 year plus that we know what we are doing. So, happy New Year and happy 2021 to all on the meeting. A very quick overview of TIE Global, which is the organization that TIE Hyderabad is a chapter. We have presence in 14 different countries and 60 cities, and it's a large community of 15,000 members who are entrepreneurs and founders of companies. Very quickly on TIE Hyderabad chapter, we were uh, 2 decades old in the city, and we have inclusive of corporate and institutional charter members, about 153 of us who are supporting multiple startups, and we also have a member base of 400 plus. Each year we do programs where we impact close to 1,200 startups and around 6,000 plus students. The purpose of TIE has been to mentor young and next generation of entrepreneurs. Uh, in 2019, we have clocked around 1,200 such mentoring awards, and TIE Hyderabad has always been recognized by the TIE Global. Almost every year, we bring back, one award or the other to the chapter. And last year, we were awarded the best chapter amongst all the 60 chapters across the globe, and that's a really matter of pride. It is all because of your immense support and also the active engagement and participation in all our initiatives and programs. Today, we are raising the curtain and launching a new initiative. We wish to call it TNT, but more on the program. I'd like to invite Suresh Raju to set the context and tell us more about this program. He's the managing director of Golden Hills Capital, and he's the vice president of TIE Hyderabad for this chapter. Over to you, Suresh Garu. Please let us know about this new initiative that we're launching today.
Thank you, Pani. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining this evening session today. And warm welcome to Dasrath Gudegaru for joining this and sharing your experiences and your journey with us today. And thank you, Sham, for moderating the session. As we went through the end of last year with several discussions with charter members, the one feedback that kind of stood out was that many of us don't know more than 20, 25 other charter members. There are 123 charter members in our chapter. So this program is designed to know all your fellow charter members well and allow for deeper networking. The intention is to understand their journey, their passions, their experiences, and kind of share them with not only other charter members, but also associate members who are also a significant portion of our chapter, right? From mentoring to their businesses and potential benefit for the associate members and understanding the experiences that we all have, I think is a wonderful thing that we wanted to start this year. It also provides a platform for the charter member to kind of talk about their business, and maybe there will be connections and opportunities that will arise from this session, right? With that, I want to hand it over to Sham. And also, as we do that, I request every one of you to participate in this. We intend to do this every 2 weeks at 8 p.m. for 1 hour on Thursday nights. So hopefully will make TNT a grand success. Thank you. Take it over, Shyam. Sorry, let me just introduce Sham as well. Just one second. Sham, I think we all know Sham really well. Many of us know him personally well. He's been an entrepreneur in the technology industry, and he's co-founder of InnoMind Software from California-based company, exited it successfully. Before that, he was the founding member of Netfish Technologies, a B2B integration company that was acquired by Iona Technologies. Recently, he's been a partner and advisor at Evoke Technologies and currently chairman and CEO of Cognitive Zen. He's an avid golfer, active mentor, angel investor, and a major contributor to the TIE Hyderabad system. Played a very critical role in getting the Texas and Southern California chapters to participate actively in the TGS 2020. Thank you, Sham. Just like you drive all the golf balls into the putts and the holes, I'm sure you're driving a lot of companies to exits. Please take it over and have a wonderful discussion.
Shamgar, if you're speaking, you're on mute, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Suresh, for the wonderful introduction. But I'm not too good in golf, and that's probably what you mean when I'm really building these companies. Anyways, yeah. Guys, it's a great initiative, Suresh. I know we were brainstorming about this session, and I'm glad that it's taking shape and the charter members see value from these, TNT, whatever Thursday night talks. Right, it's primarily to create value and drive value among the CMs, and of course the AMs as well. So this is first of the kind, and it's the very first session. I feel very lucky to really, moderate this very first session, and more so with an industry veteran like GD. So good evening, everyone. I am here with a man coming from a small village called Palanadu in Guntur district. He used to find pleasure in taking care of buffaloes and bullfights. And that's where he used to really find a lot of pleasure and happiness when he was a kid, all the way to really, probably graduated from Kakinada Engineering College, JNTU. But then now the same gentleman went all the way to Silicon Valley, and he started finding same pleasure and happiness in building chip design companies in semiconductor industry. So what a great journey, Dashrath. I'm very impressed with what you have done. And he is a man who knows only to really successfully building the companies. Not an exaggeration, probably is going to really speak while, he is talking about his journey. He built a dozen companies, all the dozen companies, he exited successfully. And that's what he brings to the table. And probably he's going to share his experiences, and he's probably going to really reveal some of his mantras for the success and how he's finding those buyers to really exit all these dozen companies. Let's try to have a great walkthrough. So I have a flyer here just to really talk about Dashrath. People call him GD, Dashrath, Gude, Ramanjaneyulu. You call him with any name that closely resonates with what his actual name is, he responds. So feel free to call him however you like, and you don't mind really. So Dashrath right now is the CEO of Invikas. It is again another VLSI design company, and he built the company, and it has 3 divisions, out of which he already sold 2 divisions. That's not there is an intro, then probably is going to talk about them. And that's very recent developments. And he sold 2 of those divisions to huge, big billion-dollar companies out of Bay Area. Prior to this, he started a company called Ineda Systems. He built Ineda Systems just to really demonstrate that a product company in the chip design can really come from a place like Hyderabad. And that's what he wanted to demonstrate, and he built the company, and he really sold that company to Intel. Prior to that, he was managing director of AMD, and he became managing director of AMD just purely because AMD acquired one of his companies again. So I leave, because probably I need another 30 minutes for him to really make this intro. So I leave it here, and I'll start with one question to GD if you're ready. GD, you there?
Thank you, Pani and Suresh Garu and Shyam. And it's, I don't know how much I'm going to justify for the first program, and I will try my best. And so whatever I have, my experience, that I'll just start very transparently. Feel free to ask any questions. My answers will be very blunt, and whatever I know, it's not that I have a great uh, intuition that it is going to be successful or anything, but always it worked out very well in general. So I'm happy to take any questions later on. So go ahead, Sham, whatever you want me to start.
Yeah, GD, first I'll ask two questions before you really get on to your journey. You are, the pioneer in building a lot of enterprises in semiconductor industry. But most importantly, you did really started this journey with Hyderabad as a base, both in terms of offering services in chip design as well as building a product. And I would like to thank on behalf of Telangana and Hyderabad for what you have done. But I just wanted you to really explain a little more on the reason why you picked Hyderabad as against a lot of multinational companies who were flocking to Bangalore at the time.
So, I mean, so basically that I was thinking about in 1993. Other than Kakinada, Guntur, I only know the place is in Bombay because that's where my studies, my master's side of it, and also that I worked for Indian Navy Division Mazgan Docks for 5 years in warships. So no in and out of Bombay at the time. So the first thing I got into thought process is that I need to start a company. Means the only place I know very professionally. I really think that that's the best place in India. That's what my impression was, and that's how I started in my first company, 93 in Bombay only. But later on, I kind of visited 94, basically Hyderabad, and a lot of momentum. Everybody is trying to see what can be done, and I also got multiple times from chief minister and other people that why don't you bring some technology to companies to Hyderabad. So I become in like a really the way the government and even the bureaucrats they worked on it, that I got impressed at the time. I said, okay, let's take it as a kind of challenge, that try to do the best possible to bring the companies to Hyderabad. So I moved myself first to Hyderabad. So then I try to see that how I can convince the many people. So you will not believe it, the amount of visits we did for many companies to convince them Hyderabad is the best place. And I believe that that's the case even today, relative to any other cities for particularly for companies to start or to take it to the next level. And people are more hardworking. And I mean, at least I have a good experience so far. I used to think only the Bombay is the best before, and definitely I still have that impression for Bombay. But today, I also felt that Hyderabad is the next, and this become my home afterwards. There is no other place I was looking at it. Even though we have office in Pune earlier, then we have office in Bangalore, Delhi, and now I have office in Guntur also. So it's multiple places we have office, but I still feel that the base is Hyderabad, and we are going to continue to be the headquarters, even though we have office in California, and even in China and Japan, that we try to make as Hyderabad is a head office. So main reason is like I can say credit goes to the government at the time. That's why I came here.
Okay. But do you think, more and more companies are going to come to Hyderabad, given, what you have done and given the success that we have seen with Hyderabad?
No, if you really see at the time, particularly in semiconductor, that the largest is at the time is even at the time Delhi was the number one, and a couple of companies are there in basically Bangalore. So Bangalore became a silicon hub afterwards, and today, if you look at it after Bangalore, the Hyderabad is the next. Almost all the top companies in semiconductor are moved to the Hyderabad. Anyway, other companies, anyways, there Microsoft and many companies are there. But definitely, there is a lot of the way it was done earlier to bring the companies to Hyderabad. Somehow, I'm missing that enthusiasm from the team. Even the Thai, even if you look at it, any other, I mean, organizations, they always have agenda to make sure that invite and anybody comes also be together and make them successful so that they can be coming to and they can also recommend Hyderabad. That somehow I see a little bit less now, relatively. Maybe everybody's busy with their work, but all of us should continue to do that one. Then definitely Hyderabad will become the hub for many other domains.
Excellent. Thank you, JD. I know that, you did graduate from JNTU Kakinada. And after that, you tried for APSCB, if I remember well. And unfortunately, at that time, APSCB or dream job, they did not, whatever, they did not open the jobs, or, they did not really conduct the exam. So you ended up becoming an entrepreneur at the time, or you ended up going for a job in Mumbai soon after your graduation?
We graduated in '82, and I started a kind of distribution, or those days is dealership they call as also a kind of R&D, and it's called Amravati Electronics. That was my first company name in Kakinada, and I was the dealer for ECTV and also like another Korean. Orissa, forgot the name also. That there are two TV manufacturers that I was representing at the time. That 1982 time frame that Asiad came in later on, and I was very popular in Kakinada because everybody has a lot of recommendation to get the TV also. Konark, actually, the other dealership I have it. And parallelly also that I was building the test equipment for the labs for polytechnic colleges. It was very successful for 5 6 months, and meantime, I got another opportunity in Vizag. It's called Amravati Electrodes to help them out. But some reason I didn't like the way that is the existing company. I went there. So while my friends are working on this one, but the four of us that we started this company first. Four of them are classmates also, and none of us that got the job just like other guys. We know for sure that we don't get the job, and wait for some time. Instead of that waiting, then we thought that we'll do this one. And later on, then I went for basically let's do for masters. Then that's how I moved to a couple of my roommates went to the IIT Bombay. Then I also went there to join the IIT Bombay. Those days is not that difficult to getting the masters in IIT, and I got the admission, but I also got the job in Mazgaon Dock, which is the naval wing of India. So for Indian Navy to build the warships. So my senior was there, and that's how I joined over there. I was there for almost 5 years. Parallelly, I was also doing systems management and finance management from Jamal Al Bajaz. Later on, I moved to California.
Hmm. So what prompted you to go to US in the first place? Why did you go to US?
No, basically, one of the reason I thought about it is the APSCB is that every time I'm very big fan of going to theaters and watching movies and all. And a lot of preference comes to the electrical engineer over there. He gets practically first day tickets or even get preference and everything. Everybody treats him nicely. So I thought that is the best thing. Even though I got the electronics, but I went to the electrical only, thinking that that is better in India.
Mm.
And later on, I also saw that one that SRMT, the company in Kakinada, is very popular, and owner of the SRMT has very best name and powerful in the community over there in the city, basically, or in the town. I felt that I also should run the company. I can give more jobs, and the way some of the employees or most of the employees look at him as like a god. I felt that
Mm.
why can't I create a company? But practically, I didn't have any money because from village going to the college and all that, we have to struggle like uh, for the money for even to start the company. And I kind of uh, find different ways to start. But anything you want to start in India, those days you need some money, not like today's environment. There is no one else will give you the to start the companies. So, and because you're also fresher.
Mm.
So that's where I felt that okay. And also the second thing is I was working in the Navy warships point of it, that we used to work with both Russians and a lot of Europeans, that the way they treat us, even though they don't know much about it, a lot of things that we discover quite a bit. And also we have the uh, responsibility. I was particularly, after 2 years later, that became a responsibility to even test every equipment in the warship. So I will be the first person in the group that working with all these foreigners that to transfer the technology, and I have to learn everything. So that's the time they felt that why we are listening to such a, I mean, they're like a, not like a top-notch guys, because they're not the designers. They're only, they will install it. They're like a very detail-oriented, and but if I ask any detailed question that they don't know, I thought that we can go and learn and bring it, because, and also they don't tell you anything, reveal it. Number one is they don't know. Number two, they maintain some secret kind of thing that they don't allow, particularly Russians, they don't allow each other to even talk also. So that is the
Mm.
kind of environment I worked at the time. And basically, that is one reason that I felt that, okay, for me to start a company, the only way, and number one is that you need to have money. In order to get the money, I felt that if I go to US, there is an easy way to earn money. That's how the impression was. A lot of my friends told that it's very easy. You come to US, you will earn a tons of money, and you can go back to India. But I realized anyway later on that it is not that easy to earn even in US.
So how about
So
that? As soon as you went to US, what happened? You found your first job?
no, it's just shocking to me when I went to the US first. But my expectation was everyone is waiting for me to give the job, or even for a master's. I mean, even for admission and all, because that was like that before in India for me. I was so lucky. I always think about it. But the minute I went there, then I realized that I'm not fit for anything except US Navy. And I applied for US Navy without telling at home, and I got a job in US Navy right away based on my experience. But my wife and his family decided that I should not join, and I was not happy because I didn't know what to do. I tried every exam possible in California, the Los Angeles, even for parking meter technician, electrician, electrical helper. This is very odd jobs. So when I did all those things, also that I was coming number one, number two, or number three within the first three ranks that exam wise, but in interview you fail all the time. Not even a single job I got it. And finally, there's some odd jobs like a soldering, PCB soldering, that company called Flextronics. I joined over there as a labor. Just I don't want to wait. That's how my journey started. And luckily, the land of opportunities, why they call it, at least for me, this is a land of opportunities at the time within 6 months. I became a supervisor for the entire night shift. 200 people used to report to me. Within from January 16th to July, basically, first I was a supervisor for 200 people. Even though I joined as an entry level labor, that's the kind of opportunity I see it over there. In the beginning, I felt it is not, but even then, money is not that easy. Even that all these promotions and all, your financial is from $4 you went to $11, so it's not much.
Hmm.
But it was exciting and learning
Sure.
a lot of things that we build the systems those days.
Excellent. I see a lot of questions pouring in, JD, from the audience. Look like you already, created enough interest in the audience to really ask all those questions. Maybe, in the interest of the time, we wanted to rush a little bit here. So I clearly see your whole career into, two phases. One is, pre-AMD days, where you built half a dozen companies or maybe more, and you exited most of them. And finally, you landed in AMD as a managing director. And I think, that's where probably the big, multinational company was seen in Hyderabad, right, with the AMD and, with you being the managing director there. And then post AMD days, after AMD, you created a lot of wonders in the name of Ineda, Invicas, and whatnot, right? So can you really explain some of those companies and what your experiences are? And most importantly, how did you really scale these companies? And why did you really sell all these companies instead of building them into multi-billion-dollar companies or whatnot? And what is that, real motivation for you to really sell them and then move on to the next one, right? So explain about your journey and explain about your success mantra, and just, please help us or educate us on why are you really taking these exits every now and then.
Number one, I'm not a innovator. Okay, I'm not like a very techie guy in the sense like I'm not innovation in the sense like it's not like a new idea that you create come up with some new technology or anything that we, and I all I know is if there is something in the market, I know how to make it better, how to create it better, and how to manufacture better. All this in the semiconductor area very quickly relative to anyone else even today. And that's where my comfort level. So in order to take it up, that lot of money required. All I thought about it is that in order to go in that $1 billion company, you yourself need to be very strong in the product area. So you come up with some idea that you make it happen. And the target was when I started the first company also, I never thought that it is easy. The only thing is I was looking at my basically cousins and everybody, they're all doctors in the US. And me and one more person is in engineering. Our salaries are under, I can say 50,000, 60,000, whereas they have 250, 300K.
Right.
And I felt that is I will never go close to them without pure job wise. Even my boss, like with the 20 years of experience, he makes around 120K. I'm talking about in late 80s and early 90s. The only way I can make it is that even though the job is very good, and I started joined a company called Epson, Seco Epson. That I really grown very fast within Seco Epson for within 5 years, and I was in a very good job. Even then, my salary was 64,000, and
Hmm.
but 64,000 seems to be very lucrative those days compared to not today. Those days is very good. But I felt that no, in order to compete with my cousins and all, I have to get into the business. So one thing I thought about it is real estate. I did parallelly in the 5 years also. By the time in 5 years, I was able to acquire 100 apartments within Bay Area, and managing properties in the weekends, and because I have the enough support in the sense from home, and not financially. We didn't have any money. I went with the $16 to Bay Area, and that's all my money from India. And rest of things are all, and I earned from there only. Even in 100 apartments, I have to go and convince some of the investors Our investors are nothing but all the doctors, and I buy for them, manage for them, and again within a couple of years we sell it and get some money, and like that multiple times we did it within 5 years. By end of 5 years, I was having my own 100 apartments, and majority, that it is based on 95%, 90% loan. It's not that here. So,
Right.
but it is a good running income for better than the normal, that is additional income, you can say. So I also manage property myself, putting couple of people, known people, to take the any complaints. So parallelly, and when it comes to semiconductor side, I was basically felt that I need to build something. And I learned a lot of things, that Epson has a tremendous knowledge. Actually, in 1991, I designed a navigation system in watches, and we are the first one to develop those things. And I was in charge for that project. And Trimble Navigation is our end customer. So I was working with multiple customers like that, and I felt that can I start a similar kind of company like Epson? And everybody was laughed at me that it's not easy. Even US companies are not there except the company called LSI. And every Japanese has in that business. There is no one else, no one in Taiwan. And the manufacturing happens in Japan is number one, and Taiwan that's just started, and the US is the one, but the US don't have that kind of operation except the one big company. In order to start that one, that everybody looked at it as you need at least 20 to 30 million dollars minimum investment. Without that one, you can't start it. I was little frustrated. So no one will give for 20, $30 million. So what I did it is, I have enough connections. 5 years I worked on it, where I supported my customers a lot, and very good rapport I have with the customers. That one of the customer is building the chips, and I went and talked to him and explored certain aspect of it. And they told me that every dollar, if I can reduce on the chip, that it will save them millions and millions of dollars per month. So I found an opportunity that, okay, if I can tie up with all the manufacturing, technology, and tool vendors, and there is an opportunity that I can scale it up. The part-time working is very famous in Bay Area those days. I think even now also. So I went to the customer, I will reduce, give me your design, I will reduce $1. I went to Taiwan and talked to the foundry, that EMC, and I told them that I'll get the customer and this is the price. Can you fund me for first tape out, in the sense it is because that they give us a free, you can charge it later. And they were because they also know me through customers, so they also looked at it. The guy I work with, it is called MK Sai. He is the Taiwanese billionaire right now. Billionaire in the sense he's the number one, you can say, richest person in Taiwan. So he started the group because of me, a separate group to support me in Taiwan.
Hmm.
And in return, that he asked me to sign, if the company is successful, that he has an option to buy out. So I agreed because I didn't know what else I can do at the time. This is one thing I advise everyone: watch out your agreements, be careful about it. I signed it blindly that he can take over. I thought that he will take over only at a certain level, but they are smart enough. So anyway, but I went to the Cadence and talked to the Cadence also, got the tools. Couple of my friends, I brought it as a part-time, and while they're working full-time, we all work together. And the things that I did it is that we are able to deliver very quickly and able to get revenue about almost $11 million within 18 months. And immediately this Taiwan company acquired it, and they say and I was not happy to sell it because there is a huge opportunity. And but unfortunately, I have no other choice. It's forced buyout. This is one
Sure.
many of the entrepreneurs first time make a mistake. I did that mistake, signing it blindly. And but I think I should have negotiated. I didn't even negotiate it at the time. I'm not saying you have an option, But at least if you tried negotiating certain things, you would have got a little bit more money, even if they want to buy. So
So one
that
of the key learnings is, negotiate and sign the agreements.
yeah,
Watch out what you're signing, right? And
because
really, if you really talk about it in this company, you really solved a supply chain problem, right, GD? It's more than a semiconductor problem, if I'm understood this right.
yeah, both manufacturing, you need to know the entire system, right from design uh, to to the manufacturing and packaging, testing, everything you need to know. In these 5 years, I was actually people were surprised that at least the 20 hours a day I used to work. So I learned all aspects of chip design, right from manufacturing to the delivery. That's how I knew it
Understood.
and out of it. I know the who are the right people to approach it, and I got the even today I can confidently say that globally I'm one of the guy who understands the business in and out of it end to end. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I understand in and out of it.
Understood. So
So
anyway, there is a
stepping
huge.
stone.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, GD.
That is my stepping stone, and that generated within 5 years a good chunk of money to it's enough money to come back. I thought that if it's a $1 million, if I earn, I thought I'll come to India and start something. Now I got more than that, so I immediately thinking about it. Starting, I started 93 itself. Okay, so in Bombay, that company then due to forced buyout, then I can't do the uh, with the similar work for 3 years, a non-compete. Then I came to Hyderabad and started first IP company, which is critical to everybody understands that present designers in the way you design in the software form. It was not like that before. We are the first one, and we are the first one in globally that concept of reusable IP in the semiconductor industry. So I kind of started that one. It's a name called Qualcore. That was in Hyderabad.
Hmm.
So from there
And I
on,
think that is the company sold it to Zilog Systems, right?
I sold it to Zilog, and
Yes.
India part of it is sold it to Microlinear, and that become a basically right now it is a microchip in Hyderabad.
Understood. I think in the interest of the time, I'll try to rush a little bit. Um, I know you have a big list of companies here. Like I said at the beginning, it's about a dozen companies. They got acquired by different publicly traded MNCs. But help us understand how do you find this buyer all the time, right? You're building something, you already have an end customer in mind for your exit, or it is more a relation based exits that you get. How do you really plan for these exits, and how do you really scale this company so quickly? Because 12 companies in a span of 30 years or even 25 years for that matter, so it's like an average two companies a year. So how did you find these exits, and how did you really find these ideas?
No, one of the things, if you really look at it, Sam, that as I told you that I'm not creating something new. I look at
Hmm.
the network I have it and the friends I have it and companies they are going through it while we are working with them, and you already know what is missing it. So you try to bring it up. The first company in Hyderabad when I started it, everybody designing it instead of building a blocks like Lego, and they start from scratch everything. So I felt that it is not needed. You can put like a kind of complex chip in if you have the blocks ready. And nobody has started at those things. And this is there is no market also. But I felt that there is a market. You can showcase it, and that's how. And also I look at it. It's not a big problem that if you look at it, who are the companies that is, lagging behind it, and you go at that time, Intel and Microchip and Zilog, these companies are all there, and I felt that okay, working very closely with Zilog, I felt that it is better to exit very quickly. So that's how I look at it. One of these companies will buy for sure. That's how confidence level is there. You already look at it. It's not that you already have the agreement, but without agreement also that if I solve this problem, it will be exited. Most of the time it was happened like that, majority companies.
So to understand what you said, you look at some of these big companies, see their pain point, and you try to solve the problem, and that is your company idea, right? And then you position yourself for an exit, and then you build the relation with the respective companies. So
Yes.
is that what you? Okay.
Default for
Okay.
not every one of them, but majority of them.
Understood.
Majority
So
exit.
how did you scale the companies? The first one I understand, you worked hard, you solved a supply chain problem, you got an exit, But after that, how are you scaling this company so quickly in a span of 2 years, right? It is both an IP as well as a service, right? That's what you are combining. So just, help us understand for the benefit of the audience and me, how are you able to really quickly scale these companies?
The one thing I want to bring it to everybody's attention is that India has a lot of opportunities, and people don't realize it. People look at a lot of problems, but there is a lot of advantage also.
That's what Modi has been telling, so we wanted to hear.
And the advantage I felt it is like companies like, even if you look at it, Intel and all the biggest companies in the world, not even a single company. I mean, there are many uh, people in the semiconductor maybe in this call, and they can Google it also, and they can find it also, anyone. But not even a single company globally in a semiconductor history was able to develop a number of IPs, physical IPs they call as, but basically, if you need to talk to one chip to other chip or one chip to the system outside, you need to have interface IP, which is belonging to particular technology, and it's not easy. There is no single company, it took like Synopsys close to 15, 20 years. It took Intel many, many years. It took AMD, it's same thing, it's a decade like that, but they are not in that business also. The people who are in the business also, they are not able to do. And we are the first, the Invicas was the first company globally and able to build the entire breadth of the IP within a less than 3 years. And we become a kind of, I can proudly say that I'm the first company from Hyderabad able to and compete in the globally. And competition is the world number one companies, and everybody's tried to kill us. I can also tell today they bought it from us, that division, to kill the competition. I also
Great.
felt.
Congratulations. You make us feel proud.
So it's basically that we have that chance, but the only thing is, as long as you have commitment, you also need to see and the right way of managing it. Outside customers, if they don't buy, Siemens would have bought it. Someone would have bought it. So we created a competition also very heavily, and
Yeah. So that makes me to ask, one more question. It seems like, some of the companies that you have been building, you tend to sell one company to multiple, enterprises. So what about it? Like Invicas, right? You sold it to, if you allow me to really reveal the names, I reveal the names. You sold a part of it to Synopsys and a part of it to Analog Devices. And similarly, you sold Ineda as a whole company to Intel. So how do you really sell one company to multiple enterprises, and what is the thought process there?
no, it's actually, this is the only company I sold it for other companies, but most of the companies are single exit only.
I
And
see.
here also we wanted single exit. It's not that we wanted multiple exits. But I was worried a little bit about the whole thing is what is happening, and just exited just before 2 weeks or even 1 week before, and COVID started, shutdown started, and I was already panic. The signals are coming from China, and what if something goes wrong? And that's why I have to rush it to exit. And
Okay. Okay.
original plan was single only, that not. But what is required is like the IP I have, it is very suitable. The ADI, we sold it HDMI business.
Hmm.
HDMI, we are the first in the world, and which is not many people has technology today. The group I have it is inventors of HDMI between US and India and China. I acquired this group from Lattice Semiconductor, which was earlier so acquired by Silicon Image. So like that. So I also not just created from the ground up. Also, I also acquired some companies, some of these IPs also.
So how do you know this is the time to exit? So you help us understand, or guide us people like me on when I should feel that yeah, this is the time for me to exit an enterprise that
Mm.
you're building or you're married to.
No, basically, the right from beginning, that majority of the companies that I planned right from beginning itself, I want to exit. Except the company I didn't want to exit is Invicas, but unfortunately, I exited two divisions. That's the original plan was not exit. So far, I never been to the public. I want to go public at least this time and build a big company in India. But due to the situations that I felt that it is better to exit and lack of visibility on the COVID side at the time. So I thought this is the right time rather than waiting for it. So, but later on I realized that okay, I should or not, but it's not bad. Whatever it is, it's the right thing, and still feeling comfortable today. So
Hmm.
otherwise, it's not like I already planned it. So this is the I planned it. It didn't, to build a big company didn't work. The
Got it.
existing today that I've still run ASIC side of it, and we are trying to see that there is only big companies are there in the market, tier one companies like a Broadcom, Marvell, in the kind of companies, and there is no second level companies which I'm trying to build it from India now.
Okay. Okay. But do you really? How do you identify that this is the time that you want to exit? I think that's probably one of the questions that most of the audience do have. So can you really elaborate and say, hey, yeah, this is the time that I should take an exit for good or bad?
No, you need to look at your team first and how is the team dynamics. If team is a little bit itchy and you may lose people, or even financially that okay you don't see a big opportunity going forward, otherwise you have to wait for another 3 4 years, and you look at it how much money you get it today, even if you make it as a kind of even say 300 or even $1 billion company, how much you make it by the time. These are things that I always look at it, because we don't have the investors in the company. So
Okay.
even if it is a say example, simple example, even 10 20 million dollars, you get majority of it. So even if you exit for 200 million also for most of these other companies which investors are VC funded companies, the founders will get less than $10 million. I
Yeah.
mean, most of the time, or even less.
Right.
So they have to wait for 5 10 years sometimes. But in my case, is I can exit every 3 years,
Every
even if
1 year, right?
I
On an
mean,
average, every 1.5 years.
so, but I don't expect 1.5 years. It's 3 to 4 years it takes each division, each company, and but because we have parallel companies, so it's
Yeah.
easy to. That's how it was happen.
And tell me about your team, right? The success doesn't come easily without having a proper team. Mostly, the core team members that probably, working with you. So how
Any,
did you really hire this talent and, made sure this talent stayed with you? I kept hearing that, there are people with you for 20 plus years, right? Probably through the journey. And then some of the people may want to retire with you. So can you speak about it and see, what you have done differently for the team to be so loyal to you and be with you?
it's not nothing like a loyal or anything. It is like the amount of respect you give, amount of treatment you take care of it, and this is when you are in village. This is one thing you learn. Okay, that's what I learned from my parents. Basically, my father was village head, so and we work in the field. The only way you do better work in the field is if you are able to motivate your own workers.
Hmm.
And there are many people out there. If you show off and you're not working, and they try to relax it also. If you are working in the farm, and basically that work like them, and everybody will work with you, Similarly, in this company also, you work like anybody that you are part of them. Typically, everybody will work with you also. So first of all, you need to respect, you need to work hard. These two are important. Most of the entrepreneurs, they think that once one exit happens and they have money, they try to relax and let other people work for them because their money will work. But in my opinion, it doesn't work. You have to work the same way like even the first company worked. Then only you will make it. And then only people will work with you also. They stay with you and they you can also be very transparent. And every time you don't need to be, people need to be successful. But at least as long as you're transparent, you see what is happening, what is coming. And they also see that how much you are working hard. If you are not working hard and somehow you made money, and next time they won't respect you also. You make money, but you won't respect.
So
So
take care of the people and treat them with respect. That's what you mean. Okay,
proper job.
sure. So do you have any advisors or well-wishers or anchors per se contributed for your success either in India or in Silicon Valley, GD?
I mean, well-wishers always gives the strength. Okay, but I have tremendous well-wishers in India, but advisors are there in US quite a bit.
Right.
Right from beginning, that the company I've worked with, it most of the companies, even the CEOs of the companies, even Stanford, some of the professors that where I work very closely, they're all always like more not only advisors, they are like a family friends kind of
Sure.
relationship I have. Even today I can pick up the phone and call anybody, and I get the support 100% without even blinking eyes. That is
So,
that's what makes me like, if anytime I get a doubt, I have somebody to share it and somebody I can get advice or at
hmm.
least input so that I can make a decision.
So how much of that contributed for your success? So the message to the audience is build relations and make sure these relations are healthy all the time, so that these relations would be useful at an appropriate time to get an exit or for that matter scale the business.
You should not build that. Okay, so you look at the person and build a relation that okay, you need them. That is not the way to build the relationship. You build the relation, no matter what it is. That one day you never know who is going to help you. So that is that, I think that's what I got it from my parents. That I always, I mean, tremendous network. I can say that today I can write from my childhood. Today also that I have everybody I'm in touch. Even my
Yes.
classmates, I'm in touch with every one of them.
And I
So
know you, I'm sure. Yeah. And I heard that GD is very well known to really give big parties for the employees and build relations through a lot of good parties. How about that? Did that help you in?
it's not that namely they call me as my title was CPO, Chief Party Officer,
I see.
and but the
Okay.
reason is not because of relationship. I enjoy it myself, so that's how. And I also want to meet all the families of
Hmm.
the employees. That's why I invite all the parents also for that parties.
I
So
see.
it's a
And
person, it's a personal side of it. It's nothing to do with it's not for the business. I really enjoy it. Even today I enjoy that. You already know.
right, right. So I'm not too sure. Let me quickly check with Funny. Funny, how are we doing with the time? We are 9 o'clock, and I
Sir,
have
we are
two more points to cover, and I have a couple of questions. I think I indirectly covered some of the questions. Go ahead,
I
Funny.
have. So the one of the question they ask is, have you seen any failures and learnings out of them?
Right, right. Now even I have that question. I'm glad. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
And I will not say real failures, but every exit has every startup has some learnings. Okay, the first one, the learning is that definitely the lack of agreement, proper agreement, that they were able to force me to sell it to them. That's what the learning. That next time, listen to your lawyers, understand better, and and second time, there are certain things I've bull forced myself without any protection. When I sold it to Zilog, that's the time 9/11 happened. So natural disasters also can happen. Protect yourself. So I kind of, it's not a failure, but I had to sell out quite a bit and to take care of my investors at the time. And that's another learning. For every exit, I have learning. Definitely, I will not say any failure, but definitely learnings are there every aspect of it. At least I have tremendous learnings from every exit, and I still thought that even if I selling it today, I still miss something. That not that I'm missing the same thing, something else. I realize it later on. Oh, I should have done this way. So it is helping me, and at least none of the mistakes I repeated so far. So
Hmm.
it's all new mistakes.
And I have one question from one of the board of directors. What has been your approach to analog and RF design? How did you address the requirement for specialized manpower?
It's not only that analog and RF side of it. It's most of the chip design is very unique. I already know. I also when I came to India, that I was the first one initiated even VLSI course in a training kind of thing in Bombay with IIT and outside also. And before that, not even a single person knows about VLSI in India. Then
Hmm.
I have to hire some new students and start training them. And then I decided, okay, this is not going to work out. Even with the university, I mean, college like IIT Bombay cannot work. That you need to have a dedicated your own. That's how I started Veda IIT.
Okay.
And I have to fight at the time, and not to be like a part of university, but at the same time I want to have a university degree and fully merit basis. That's how I got it. This is the first in India ever done it like this before. It's 20 years ago. So government supported it.
Congratulations.
So we can take a couple of more questions if you will. Maybe about
Sure.
the
You know,
future of the
yeah,
industry, semiconductor space, and all of that. They were there.
sure. Yeah, we will. Yeah, JD, you can pick some questions from the questions on the board. But before you get on to those questions, you can pick two or three. I have one is about your contribution to the Indian startup ecosystem or the entrepreneurs. Being successful, being there, done this. What are you trying to do, or what you have done to the Indian startup ecosystem or the entrepreneurs? Second question is, what have you done for your social responsibility, I would say. And the third one is, what is going forward now? You have seen enough, done enough. What are your dreams and what is it you want to do going forward?
No, basically that dreams always you can have one of the.
We'll start in the sequence if you don't mind. So what is that, your contributions to the Indian startup ecosystem?
And what I did it is that I invested in multiple funds, both in
Okay.
Bangalore, Bombay, and Hyderabad, and multiple fund that pretty much most of you guys know that funds, and I invested it. And because I didn't know much about anything software industry, I thought it's better to give the money to the fund managers, that local funds, so they can invest it. And the second is, if it's semiconductor, I directly invest it also. That I invested multiple companies also in startups. So uh, the lack of time, but unless you invest directly, you need to know, you need to be in a position to help them also. So, but other than that, I didn't do much about it, and I'm more than happy if anybody comes with giving the advice or giving the direction, whatever I know. That I have many times I did that one.
Thank you, GD. So I think it's the point to the audience. Now that you guys know GD is there, he's more than happy to really handhold and mentor you guys in the semiconductor industry, feel free to really reach out to him.
Yeah, I have zero knowledge in the software side, so
Not the software. We're talking about only VLSI, chip design, semiconductors.
the
And
other thing is like I felt that when I was AMD is also into graphics. I mean, ATI was the graphics. I have a deep tie-ups with all this media industry at the time because of we are in the graphics. So I have a kind of we invited George Lucas for our dinner. So he invited us, me and my colleague, to his studio, and when I visited that, I can mind blowing that the way it was built. So I thought that why Indian industry is not changed it? Can we do something? That's how I started a studio called Makuta, and I still believe that when I started this one, Srini Raju was telling me that it's waste of your time. You won't make money. I already experimented, and he is right, 100%. You don't make money, but I told him that I'm not starting this one for money. I want to change the way the movies are produced. It's going to be Hollywood level. So I was able to make it happen, and we are the
right.
first one to won the national awards. There is no national awards before for graphics. We are the first one even bringing that category.
Yeah, I think in the interest of the audience, Bahubali animation was done by this company called Makuta, which is one of the GD's um, one of the GD companies, or rather he invested in the company, and I think that's what he was referring to.
Actually,
So
I manage.
how? One more time, GD. I'm
I
sorry.
manage the company also today also.
Oh, okay, okay, good to know. So, what are your plans going forward? What are your dreams?
I'm in a crossroads right now, and I don't know how, why, and all those things that it is recently in times of in COVID time, the shutdown. I got a dengue, and the first time joining the hospital, and I've never been hospitalized before, and I thought that this was my second life after I came out within couple of days only, but the perception changed it, and I changed myself. My health was improved drastically, and drastically in health in the sense it's not that I have any problems before, but I'm talking about weight and everything I changed it, and now I'm in a stage that I want to enjoy it, but I want to help, and but I will not retire it, and aggressively the company I'm building it, I want to make it a. I'm debating myself, not at finalized it, take it to the next level, and helping the next level team to take to the more responsibility, help them, guide them, even if they make mistake. I'm going to be there behind it. I want to showcase them and myself, and not just I need to be a front end. I want them to be front end so that I can help them to build the company. I want to experiment at this time for next 3 years. I want to see that how it will work.
Thank you, GD. Yeah, I think we have 5 more minutes. You can pick one or two questions that you feel appropriate or you wanted to address,
Mm.
or I can pick that for you if you wish.
Anything is fine.
No, go ahead. What you feel is more relevant. So we have one question. Can you recommend a few fast-growing companies in your domain that have some potential to become NVIDIA or AMD?
I don't know the AMD point of it. I don't know if anyone of you guys know that I did pretty good job for them. And I, in the sense, Hyderabad team or India team did extremely good job. Hyderabad today, without India team, AMD would have not been there. As the success of AMD is whether they credit or not, I will give 100% credit to India team. And without India team, they would have been gone long time ago. So uh, definitely, that's the one thing I can always say that believe it yourself, believe it your team, and also make sure that you believe yourself first, and nothing can go wrong. One of the major thing that I observed it is many people worried about image. If your lifestyle is as normal as possible, and you don't have image conscious, then you will be successful, guaranteed. That's my belief. That's
Nice,
one thing I always want to maintain lifestyle as normal as possible, not to show off.
nice. So one of the questions from the audience, what are the key success factors that are common across all your exits? Like 2 or 3 of them.
Basically, most of the time that I look at is my customers. Common is every time I look at my customer success, majority of my companies exited to my customers only. So once
Hmm.
you see the customer success, they also look at it, okay, and your soft corner comes in, and then they try to see how they can manage it. Okay, so that is the one thing is very important.
Okay. People wanted more than one. Certainly, customer, take care of the customer.
And take care of, but anytime that, and also that, not that when even sometimes you lose the money, never let your customer down. Your reputation is very important. That once you, people should know that once you take it up, you are going to deliver it, even if you lose money. And
Hmm.
that's how your reputation comes in automatically. When you are selling it, they believe you that you are selling the right product to them, or right company to them.
Okay.
So far, all most of the people came through word of mouth. Even I never have the banker to represent it. I represented myself all the time. No middleman in all these exits.
Okay. So now that we are out of time,
Yes.
I will try to end this. One last question about your looks. You look very different from what the picture says. What is going on there?
That's why I said, I told you last 10 months that I changed myself, and lost weight, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying a lot of exercise. Earlier I didn't get the time. Now I got the time. Now I realized that, okay, I can do both, and I spend a couple of hours every day for my personal time, for either workout or the sports or something. Every day I do that, and I'm really enjoying it. The way the that COVID actually, for many people it is different, but for me, I'm benefited with this, and I'm
Good to
enjoying.
know.
And
Thanks a lot, Judy. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time. And it's very wonderful knowing about your journey. And I know you have done a lot of companies. In spite of that, a lot of people doesn't know you in Thai Hyderabad. And I'm sure this session will, probably made them really understand, what you have achieved and, more about you. So with that said, I will pass it on to JT Rao for the closing remarks.
So, thank you, Suresh Raj Garu and Manohar Reddy Garu, for initiating this new program from Thai Hyderabad, Thursday Night Talks, to know more about our charter members. I must congratulate Thai for putting all of this together under the leadership of Manohar Reddy Garu too. In today's session, we have a great pleasure of knowing GD Garu, a fellow charter member and veteran in the semiconductor industry. Wonderful journey, lot of insights to all CMs and AMs. In 25 years, 12 exits, and every 2 years and 3 years, people are struggling for one exit. So in this case, I mean, appreciate your guts and passion and wonderful journey. And many thanks for taking your valuable time out and spending today evening with the Thai community. Going forward, we would like you to continue to encourage and guide many startups in the city as well. And Shampila, my friend, you have done a commendable job in bringing to light many aspects of the speaker through your excellent moderation.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to many more Thursday night talks in the coming months. And I wish to thank all charter members and associate members who joined first to TNT today and continue to encourage and give your valuable feedback to bring more and more interesting talks in the coming months under this series. So thank you all once again. Good night and have a great week. Our next TNT talk will be on 11th February with yet another charter member, and please tune on to the notice boards for more details. So I now, Fani Garu, over to you.
Sir, thank you, GD Garu and Shampila, Suresh Raju, JT Rao Garu. So I would request all our participants to switch on their videos. We can take a capture of today's activity. Charter members and associate members on the call. We had 53 people joining, and we almost had 50 of them staying on the meeting all through the last 1 hour. Thanks so much for taking time. We still have about 22 non-video participants. If you can come on your videos, we can take a capture and a picture of yours.
They must be having a beer.
Those can be taken with beer also, no problem.
Hey, Sham, that's a good thought.
Oh, hey.
Sorry. Yeah, wait. Okay.
Oh, Vijay Bhai.
Click pictures with the speaker of the day and all our charter members and associate members. Please turn on your videos. We wish to take some more screenshots.
Sorry,
you.
a lot of questions, but I would have not answered most of the questions, but in future, definitely we'll connect and personally I can answer any questions anybody has it.
Thank you.
Thank you, JD. That's very generous of you.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
We done?
Yep. Excellent, GD. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, JD. Thank you, Shampila.
Bye.
Thank,
Bye.
thank you.
It was
Thanks
a
a lot.
nice
Bye.
talk.
Take care.
For all,
We wish you
thank
good luck and all the best to you.
you.